this is how I'm going to learn Greek this summer. If you're going on holiday somewhere and you don't speak the language, you can do the same thing. So I'm going to show you here, and you'll be able to communicate effectively with the locals. All right, even if you're not all that fluent in the language yet. So basically, what I'm going to do is learn a lot of useful sentences, specifically for the situations that I'm going to have during my holiday. I'm going to Greece, going to the Greek islands, so I'm going to have to do. Uh, I'm going to have some very specific conversations, right? So I've divided them in four different categories: things that I will have to say all the time, things that I will have to say daily, once or twice a day, but not as often as these ones, and then things that will come in handy, but they're not something that I will say all the time, and then occasional stuff that might be useful, and even things like emergencies, which go here as well. And then in each tier, I've got different categories like greetings, ordering stuff, buying. A lot of this is about buying stuff or paying for stuff because that's what you do when you're on holiday, right? Um, so yeah, tickets, fares, ferries, buses, taxis, all of that, airport, ordering food, paying for food, ordering drinks, greeting people, stuff that happens at the hotel, that kind of stuff. And the plan is to learn all these lines. I will learn my usual language islands as well, all my sentences, like the stuff I normally learn, things I normally say. But I'm going to focus mostly on this because these are the things that are most likely to be useful. Because I will say these things on holiday. I will probably not have long conversations with locals. Maybe I will, but this is more important, right? Much more useful. So the plan is to focus first on the most likely sentences, the most likely scenarios. So tier one of travel, then tier two of travel as well. And after that, I will go to my usual conversation topics, to my language islands, and learn the rest of my sentences as well as these. But I will focus heavily on tier one and two so that I learn all the basics, stuff that I'll say all the time. Once I know those really well, move on to uh, the rest of my lines. It's going to be around 5,000 sentences in total, which is quite a lot. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not if you learn them efficiently. And now I'm going to show you how. So basically, the plan is to learn through repetition, a lot of repetition. I'll use mnemonics as well because vocabulary is quite challenging for Greek. There are a lot of words that sound similar because a lot of words in European languages have a Greek origin, like a relatively high number of words. But again, there's a lot of vocab and, of course, all the grammar that's very different in Greek. So it's going to be a lot of repetition and there's going to be a lot of mnemonics for the vocab. And I'll do a separate video for that, for the mnemonics. People don't believe me when I say you can memorize 30, 50, 100 words a day. You absolutely can. I'll show you how, right? But the main thing is that in order to speak, in order to be able to say things, you need to speak a lot. So I'll be repeating these sentences aloud over and over again. I'm already creating audio files. So the plan is to uh, play the audio files and read simultaneously. I can already tell that they've got the same word for good morning and good afternoon, and which is Kalimera, by the way. Uh, it's pretty easy. This is one of those alphabets that you can read. You can learn to read pretty easily because it's very similar. It looks weird now, but after a week of reading while listening and checking the meaning, you'll be able to read it. It's like Cyrillic. If we're talking about alphabets like, well, scripts like Arabic or something like that, obviously it's much harder and it's going to take much more time. But for something like this, you can learn to read relatively easily, which is useful if you go on holiday because you'll have signs and restaurant menus and things like that you need to read. Although they probably have everything in English as well, but it's always useful to to be able to read the local language. So the plan is first focus on tier one, and I'll read it while listening several times from start to finish. Then I'll put them on my phone and I listen to them on repeat while I work out. Do this at least 20 or 30 times with the whole list of tier one. Again, I'm going to focus on tier one and tier two mostly. And if I have the time, because I'm extremely busy these days, if I have the time, I'll learn everything else as well. But I'll focus first on the like 500 to 1,000 sentences of tier one, which are the ones that 80 or 90% of what I'm going to say when on holiday is going to be those interactions. So apply the 80-20 rule and focus on the stuff that you're most likely to say, the stuff that you have to say all the time. So these two, like telling them to bring bread or, ordering stuff. Uh, can I pay by cash? With cash? Can I pay by card? Yeah, that kind of stuff. You should learn it really well before you go on holiday. And the plan is, like I said, read while listening over and over. Then eventually, once I understand it easily, then read while listening and shadow it, so say it aloud. I'll try doing it early on, but if it's hard, then I'll wait till I've done a few rounds of reading while listening, and then lots of extra listening. And once I'm able to read it comfortably, like I'm able to read it relatively fast, then I put it on my ebook reader as well, and I start reading it aloud over and over. But once I know that uh, I can read well, because if you try to read aloud a script that's very different, or even if the language uses the Roman alphabet, but if you're not sure how pronunciation works, reading aloud without audio not a good idea. First, you need to read while listening and do a lot of listening with the sentences, and then once you understand the sentences easily and you figure out how pronunciation works, then you can start reading aloud. But not until you know exactly how pronunciation works, because otherwise you're going to just destroy the pronunciation, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to butcher the pronunciation when you're speaking. So yeah, that's the plan. I'll do a few rounds of mnemonics every day, so 5 by 5 probably 5 minutes 5 times a day. Just set a timer and memorize as many words as possible using mnemonics. That should be more than enough to do 100 words a day. That's 25 minutes. Four words a minute is very easy. Again, if you've got some experience with mnemonics. Obviously, I'll memorize the vocab from my sentences first, not just random vocab. Because frankly, I mostly want it, well, I only want it to, it'd be nice to eventually listen to podcasts and things like that, but I mostly, well, for now, only want it to be able to speak while on holiday. So it doesn't make sense to learn verb lists or anything like that, because most of those, like 95% of those verbs, I won't use them in real conversation. So memorize the vocab of my sentence lists, and then a lot of reading, listening, and repeating. It's as simple as this. You can do it as well. It's really not complicated. The only thing you need is some consistency and to continue doing it daily and do it in a way that makes sense. All right. Effective exercises.